Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John McCabe, and I am an advisor on the Teagasc Arrivo Joint Programme. You're welcome here today to this webinar. Today I will be joined by Dan O'Riordan, who is working with Herd Plus in Cork, and he's coming today to talk to us about sire advice, how to pick dairy bulls, how to pick beef bulls, and where we are going in terms of matings across the dairy herd. So Dan, thanks for joining. You're on mute there. If you could just unmute, that would be great.
Right, John, we're right there, hopefully.
Ready to go, yeah. So Dan, you're on to talk about sire advice. Just before you do start and get into your presentation, where are we with sire advice usage, and are there ways of increasing it?
Yeah, so John, look, just very briefly, last year, John, we have somewhere in around 3,200 to 3,500 herds have ran sire advice last year of some description. Now that's a combination of farmers running it themselves. That's a combination of advisors, of course, running it on behalf of their farmer clients, and of course the AI companies, their office staff or their sales reps, etc., can log in there as well and run the sire advice as well.
Okay.
So that figure, it's been increasing over the last couple of years, John. We'd like it to be higher, and hopefully with sessions like this, get a bit more user awareness, or hopefully identify that it's user friendly, I suppose, as much as anything else, and especially for these targeted area breeding programs, John, we feel it's very important.
Yeah, and just as an advisor working with farmers on the ground, I see a lot of people running it, especially people in discussion groups, and they get a lot of use out of it. You've had a lot of changes over the last say 5 or 6 years, Dan, and maybe you might bring us through a couple of them today after you go through your couple of introduction slides. So if you could share your screen there, that would be great, and we'll take your short presentation. Just for all the attendees on the line, please use the questions and answers box, the Q&A box, to ask any questions of our host today, and I'll try my best to get an answer for you. So can you share your screen, Dan?
Yeah, 1 second now, John.
Super. Away you go. So
thanks, John. Apologies there for delays. We just a bit of mix up there, myself and John, at the start there. So we'll get going there as soon as we can. So look, thanks to John and to Teagasc there for the invitation and just the hosting and just a bit more awareness there. We're just following on there from my colleague Kevin went through reports on Monday, heard reports. I went through a bit more detail on selecting cows for dairy, beef and sex semen, the new options there, and just a bit more detail on going through the bulls there. Hopefully myself this afternoon, and obviously my colleague Siobhan went through the DBI and CBB yesterday. So look, maybe just a quick look back at where we've come from. Look, our genetic gain has been quite solid in the last since EBI was launched, as you can see here on the graph. So look, just turn your attention here maybe to the blue line here. This is where we can see the rate of progress really kicking in there. And look, something happened here in 05, 06. We'll explain what helped to really rise this in the upcoming slide. But look, that translates about a 10 or 11 euros rate of EBI again. We've mapped or tracked the average EBI of the first calf heifers in all those years across the board. Look, that translates into a 5 cent per litre or 284 euro per lactation gain. And look, we're just quite clearly just the cows we have now are obviously much better than what we had 10 or 11 years ago. So look, we've gone from about 4,900 odd litres per cow up to 5.5, and we just obviously the fat and protein is 4.2 and 3.52. Look, plenty of gains still being made. And look, the kilos of milk has grown substantially, and look, 6-week calving rate on average is 66%. Look, there's still lots to improve in the fertility. I know we beat the drum on it year in, year out, and I'm sure John and Teagasc do the same. But look, it's we never go away from the basics. It's really, really important. So look, I won't dwell too long on that. We have just a new component, of course, calving, that came into the EBI index back in November. And look, we just wanted to maybe highlight just some of the little changes that might have occurred because of that. Look, there's different weightings, maybe just fertility and calving have kind of coming together. That's where a lot of the fertility is still part of the carbon component. Look, the emphasis on health has increased, and obviously the beef component subindex has increased as well. And look, maintenance maybe slightly come down to make accommodations from the carbon. So look at this. I won't dwell too long on that, just to give a quick overview, just a couple of changes that did come in. Look, where will farmers see this? Obviously, it'll come up on the active bull list, and if you click into bull and click on carbon subindex, look, it's on the hard reports now as well. So look, I said, John, I won't dwell too long. I just want to quickly point out where farmers will find this. Look, one of the things that is said to ICBF, or I'm sure said to Teagasc and advised, look, EBI doesn't apply for me. Look, I have a different system. It just won't work for me. And look, we just want to quickly intro on this. Is just look, these are two very, very different management herds. So we have the Moore Park herd in obviously in Cork there. So look, this isn't, they're both in the top 1% of herds. And look, the UCT herd in Dublin. So look, they're both elite herds in terms of EBI, but they're two different systems. Look, Moore Park is about 0.5 ton per meal per cow per year, and look, the meal fed on the UCD system is 1.5 tons. So look, just without drilling into too much, look, so look, the kilos of milk is 443 in the Moore Park herd, and look, it's 625. And look, you can see the 6-week the calf rate is 92% after 12 weeks on the Moore Park herd, and look, the 6-week pregnancy rate there is 87 on the UCD herd. So look, we just want to highlight that there are two different systems entirely, but EBI will still work in both, and how you should still focus on EBI regardless of what system you're on, just to highlight there, just a bit of a backdrop on that. Look, obviously with the active bull list was updated there on Wednesday. Look, that's the latest proofs on now live. But one of the questions that comes into us regular enough is, look, why bulls don't make the active bull list. So look, they need to have an EBI reliability of greater than 35%. They need to have a calf difficulty reliability of 70% or more. Look, there's individual heifer and cow reliability is required as well, or looks 50 calving records or more. So look, there's a minimum criteria to make the active bull list there. So young bulls without a calving proof generally don't make the active bull list there. Just to looks kind of a general question that comes into us there, and ICBF just sort of highlighted there. So look, obviously this is a kind of a debate where that's happening the last couple of years amongst farmers and advisors. And look, again, we've gone into the database here. So when we get a question, we try and pull out the data and hopefully shed light on it. So again, we've mapped or tracked the average replacements of the heifers, again, the first calvers, the last 4 or 5 years. So look, just very quickly, look, these are the Jean Ireland daughters here, the blue line. So these are daughters born from the Jean Ireland, and their average EBI from 17. Look, they've outperformed a little bit the GS or the G2. They're the next level of genomic sires. So look, just and then we have the daughter proven. So those first daughters are calved down, coming from the daughter proven sires only. And I suppose we're just highlighting here that the GS, I suppose, daughters have outperformed consistently in the last 4 or 5 years. There is a gap there of maybe 20 or so euros on average, and the Jean Ireland daughters have done a little bit better again because they're coming from the elite bulls, and that's why the Jean Ireland program is so key there. That's why EBI has been one of the foundation levels there. Why EBI really increased from 0.5 onwards is the Jean Ireland program there. And look, we have seen a drop off in terms of the usage of GS daughters. We are running the figures for 2022 there after the last evaluation, but we hope to see this increase. But there was a drop off. There was possibly lack of confidence in their use, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they were used and maybe why that happened, why there was a lack of confidence. Maybe there was an issue that farmers were overlooking in terms of their use. So that's obviously the equal usage part is probably what I'm trying to drive at there. And look, Kevin mentioned it on Monday, there's still about maybe 25% of our dairy replacements coming from stock bulls. And you can see here, look, that's a lot, that's a quarter, and there's very quick, easy wins in terms of, breeding better cows just by simply switching over to AI. So, if you just continue to use data proven only bulls, I suppose we're just highlighting that you probably will be behind farmers who use GS daughter lures. I'm not here to say just use GS or just use data proven. I'm going to try and highlight that having a range of bulls to manage the imbalances in herd is more important than if a data proven bull does that, so be it, or GS bull irons out an imbalance, so be it. So look, Another bit of feedback we've got as well, and we try to tackle this with the discussion group sessions that John and myself would have partaken there with groups in the last 2 years. Feedback we got as well that the Gene Ireland daughters were possibly not lasting as long and hard, but we just looked at this in last year, and the Gene Ireland daughters were on average 54% of those were still hanging around or still in the herd, we'll say, in 2021. And the GS daughters are a little bit underneath that again, 51.9. And then, the daughter proven daughters, how many of those were there in 2021? Well, in 58.8. So I looked actually that they're actually outlasting, they're lasting longer in herds, which is important for longevity. Linked to lactation, we're under pressure, of course, for cow numbers for various reasons, nitrates, etc. So look, we're pleased to see that, but look, I just want to highlight, because this is a debate that's happening out there, and look, and this is, I suppose, the data behind all this, and just to paint that picture there for the viewers here this afternoon. Look, as I just mentioned, look, the Gene Ireland program is important. I won't look, they're the elite bulls. They're not, the perception maybe before that they were test bulls or there was something wrong with them or whatever. That isn't the case. They are the elite genetics. These are the bulls you'll see in the AI catalogs this time next year. And we would simply advise farmers to enter those when the farmers who participate in this program. Look, all the AI companies are involved in the program. Obviously, we're essentially involved. We're looking for herd participants there, and it's a great way of maybe introducing maybe a little bit more variety of genetics on bulls into your main bull team, especially for microcarny herds there. We see it as a great way of managing risk. And as I say, the Sire voice will generate the best mating. So maybe traditionally speaking there, maybe the Gene Ireland bulls were used on cows of repeat cows or cows maybe the farmer didn't like for whatever reason. We're saying to use the Sire voice to generate the best mating. And if that goes into your top EBI cow, so be it. That is the best balanced mating. I'll delve into that a little bit more. And look, the average EBI of the main Holstein Friesian pack, there's something for all farmers here in this. So if there's a multi-breed pack, there's a pure Friesian pack, there's a pedigree only, black and white, whatever your system is. Look, there's something for all systems there in it. And look, I just quickly worked out the average EBI of the current active bull has gone to 339. It's probably increased a good bit since January there, John. The gap was probably higher. The Gene Ireland panel at the moment from the bulls that have been jumped to 350. And look, this is the reason why that blue line took off. It's a really important program to get bulls tested and to keep the genetics in Ireland, keep the bulls being bred from Ireland. It's really, really important. And look, the straws very quickly are €12 on average. And we do incentivize participants in it, particularly farmers who are genotyping. Look, we discount the dairy females to €18, and look, we like to see it incorporated as part of your overall Sire advice program. So this is important, I suppose. This is one of the reasons why there's been maybe lack of confidence maybe in the GS bulls. And look, we're going to try and tackle this head on this afternoon if I can. So look, we're not saying GS proofs are going to stay high or low or medium, whatever. They will change. Look, Carday's data comes in, evaluations will change, but we just want to highlight here on this particular slide that look, GS bulls, they can on the extreme ends of Carday's variability is increasing there, as you can see. Look, we can see swings of plus or €90 on the extremes. But initial data proven bull, and I think this is another point that farmers don't fully understand, that when you see data proven bull on the active bull list, it's really just proven for milk only, because it can take 5, 6, 7, 8 years before that fertility proof comes in from daughters, etc., calving down. And again, that's the reason why you will see even the initial data proven bull and a well proven bull again cannot change again. So that's the reason why using the correct number of bulls in comparison to herd size is so important. Managing risk and to try and use them evenly, and we'll go into that a bit more. So look, I think that's an important message to try and understand that that even if you just select data proven only, you could see changes in that because the variability and data will flow in from those again. Just looking at maybe some of the behavior, and we would have seen this in the discussion group sessions we would have had with various advisors and farmers there in the last 2 years during COVID in particular. We see a different range of usage. We'd be simply advising trying to that no bull would make up 15% in terms of usage and generating a crop of heifers. So that's the ideal scenario. But look, we looked at about 6,000 herds, and look, while the farmers were using the 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 bulls, once the calves are born the following year, 34% maybe possibly are coming for that one single sire. So in terms of proofs changing, if one bull changes heavily, that's a third of the heifers could be impacted a lot. So look, that's the reason why we need to look at the usage, and that is something we've sent out in the scorecard letter the last 2 years, the usage. And my colleague Brian tomorrow will talk a little bit more on other tools and to try and manage the usage piece more and to monitor that throughout the breeding season. He'll speak a bit more about that tomorrow, so I won't go too more. So look, and then 3 bulls in where maybe 70% of the crop of calves is coming from maybe 3 sires again, which is it's too heavy. It's it's a bit like Cheltenham last week. I was putting all my money and on 1 or 2 or 3 horses to win a single race, where I should be putting in, if I really wanted to make sure I was going to win something, I should be, putting in a couple more horses into this, and using them evenly. So then heifer usage. Look, maybe farmers traditionally might use 1 or 2 bulls on heifers. We'd like to see that increase as well. So just to highlight that there, and again, the Sire voice tries to look after that.
Dan, I might just jump in there.
Yeah.
This has to be one of the key pieces of when you're using genomics, and it's definitely one of the places that I see it goes wrong on farms. Possibly, I know Brian might get into it tomorrow, but possibly one of the places that you could overuse a bull is that if you have a bull that is suitable for heifers, and you use it in your heifers, but then you also order straws or you use straws in your cows, and all of a sudden you could end up with a lot of daughters off one certain bull. And if it's genomic, and as we saw in the slide there, a genomic bull, the same as a daughter proven bull, can go up and down a lot. So like if you multiply 15% is the most you want a bull usage.
Yes.
If you multiply that by 3. That's 45%.
45%. Yeah.
Whereas in your case here, there's on average in them 6,000 herds, 69% to 3 bulls. So it's way too high, really, isn't it? That was one of the main points that I would see out as an advisor on the road.
And this would have caused a lack of confidence possibly in the GS bull. So if I had used 1 bull at 34%, and obviously we all think of the bulls that go down, it dropped by 70, 60 euros, whatever it was. Obviously, they're the ones that will stay in all our minds. But if I hadn't weighed in heavily, and keep in mind that if I had used, 7 or 8 straws of 1 bull, look, there'll be a portion of those males anyway. So nothing will be too overly impacted if I spread my risk more evenly in terms of my bulls, that I'm not going to lose my shirt or my hair if one does go down dramatically.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
So look, just a quick graphic here. So look, we've very quick, the breeding plan. We've trying to identify her genetics. We're defining our breeding goals. Look, we're trying to select bulls and breed from our highest females. Use the DBI. Siobhan spoke about this, and look, we're going to go in now and talk, maybe just see the demo on the Sire voice. But maybe I'll just give a quick background here on the Sire voice, how it actually works before I begin the demo. So look, a lot of farmers pick their own bulls and they'll probably manually enter them. I'll just show that there in a moment, and that's perfectly fine. They'll manually pick the bulls, and if you can manually enter them, and that's perfectly fine. It'll generate the best mating. So what the mating program tries to do in the mating program itself, the key thing, I suppose, the first thing I say, it won't match any bull that's going to create any inbreeding. There's a lot of coverage or things spoken about inbreeding, so this is the tool that'll look after all that straight away. So they won't match any inbreeding. It'll rule out any inbreeding. The Sire voice checker straight away. So the bull that's in your team that's best in milk subindex, we matched or mated the cow that's poorest to milk subindex. The next trait, it tries to create a balance on the progeny born as fertility. One of the things the Sire voice tries to do as well, some farmers may be very reluctant to pick negative milk kilo bulls, and one of the things we try to demonstrate on Tuesday, that every herd has cows are both positive and negative of milk kilos. This is the Sire voice now tries to look at the next trait. It tries to try to minimize the variation. So we will try and match the cow that's positive milk kilos to the cow that's negative milk kilos. Very important there for farmers to know. So if you have a nice spread of bulls, you know, in your bull team in terms of milk or fat and protein. And there's no, if you had a negative milk kilo bull and it was ticking the boxes and something else, it was in kilos of milk, fat, protein, fertility, that negative milk kilo bull will be matched or mated to that positive cow in your herd. And of course, the bending that is coming maybe a little bit more important to think about. So just to keep that in mind.
And just one thing, that's one thing that each farmer has their own kind of opinion on breeding, and they tend to pick bulls that. So, for example, if I love to have a load of milk, a lot of milk, I might pick all my bulls in around the 200 kilos of milk, or maybe on the other side of the spectrum, I want to have minus milk, and I always tend to pick my bulls minus 100, minus 200. So what you're saying is that if I'm in the really high milk, that if I use a negative bull, it's going to match it onto my highest milk cows potentially, or in most cases, or the other way around, that if I have a very minus kilos of milk herd, that I might have that if I use a bull with plus 150, it'll match it to the. Is that am I correct in saying that?
Yes. It tries to minimize that. So what you don't want is a 200 kilo bull going on a 200 kilo cow.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's trying to bring it down. So that 200 kilo bull is maybe go to one that's maybe minus 150, minus 50, whatever the case it is. The algorithm works it out in the background, John, and tries to now, provided you're giving it, the Sire advice, a good number of bulls and a good range of bulls to allow to iron out those imbalances. So it's only as good as what's being fed into it.
But that's very important if we're trying to manage our cows as a herd, body condition score, milk yield, everything. You know, it's very important that we have more of an even spread, isn't it? Okay, thanks, Dan.
Definitely. And look, just again on the graphic there on the top of the car, look, the equal usage piece. So that's the reason, you know, it's not enough just to pick the bulls. It is you have to follow the equal usage piece. And I'm going to cover that maybe the Sire voice results there. So, and of course, the great advantage of the Sire voice is that those matings can be transferred to the technician's handheld, you know, that they come into the yards in a very busy season now, condensed, and they know exactly what the farmer wants, as a dairy or a beef. They have they have three choices, and there's no debate. This is what the technicians tell us in terms of feedback. Is this what they really like? And of course, those, if it's saved and sent to handheld, those come up on the Herd Plus breeding charts. A lot of farmers are still using breeding charts, which is perfectly fine. And of course, a lot of farmers are now using apps for etc., where those choices come up on the app as well to try and make the job of recording the service more easier throughout the season. And that is something that Brian will cover in a bit more depth as well tomorrow. So last spring, we introduced new dairy beef matings. They are now available as well. So we have both dairy and beef, so we can do everything together in the one program, I suppose, hopefully going forward. Look, this is something that we would have worked with Donna Berry and the Moorpark team there last spring and launched. So look, the farmer, again, wants those females I've picked up for beef, my low BBI cows, my lay calvers, my pooper farmers, whatever my criteria is for the beef, they're all we selected them on Tuesday. So now I'm going to go in now and pick a DBI team. And again, it's important to have a range here. Again, so look, to give a very simple explanation here for the viewers, look, it will generate a dairy mating and a beef mating for everything. If I click enabled here, you will see it in a minute there. So that's important, John, because I might have every intention of a cow going after my dairy selections, but look, a cow may repeat whatever it is. And then I might be deciding finished dairy after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I can switch over to my dairy beef matings. It's on the background sitting, and explain how that works once I do the demo on the service a bit more. So I have it ready to go. I have beef bulls picked for everything. I have dairy picked, and if I beef only, that's fine. I just stick to beef. That comes out in the breeding chart and the app as well, or the handheld device for the technicians as well. So the linear program now looks at the female's ability to calve, its age, and it's trying to generate the dairy beef mating that will not cause any calving, just to be very, very clear with farmers on this one. And it's trying to, I suppose, generate progeny or a calf with that's going to be obviously have a better chance of meeting factory carcass, because the quality of dairy beef has declined in the last couple of years. And look, this is one of the tools we're trying to use to try and, I suppose, improve that as we go on. So it's weighted against putting any difficult calving sire and a female that's genetically predisposed to having a difficult calving, maybe a smaller cow or a younger female, and then it's not going to put anything on the opposite kind of on a harder calving, maybe DBI sire will be vital on an older cow, so it looks after all that. And again, if you give it enough bulls, you know, not to pick just 1 or 2 beef bulls, pick 3, 4, 5, you know, again, give the program every opportunity to get those better matings, better matings, and maybe bulls with a better beef subindex. Maybe have a little look at the beef subindex, not just easy calving, you know. And you know, there's no reason, you know, why you could maybe pick maybe some DBI bulls possibly in the medium risk category, because they will be mated or matched to the more mature cows in your herd, you know. And it won't be, those won't be mated towards, you know, heifers or anything like that. That won't happen. And this is the maximum potential of the tool. So look, just and we see this as something that we said to groups. John, you've probably heard me saying this before, but look, there's no extra cost here in terms of a farmer using BFAI to have it, might as well be generating a calf with some class of a better quality calf, you know, when they're born next spring on the beef side. So look, there's no extra cost. The technician will be paid, your AO company will be paid, or you're paying for a straws, whatever the case may be. There's no extra cost. It's part of the Sire devices there, so there's no reason why not to use it. So look, this is just when the results are generated. Look, you can see their dairy and beef results now. Look there, some farmers just use the PDF report, which is fine. The 3 choices are there. As I say, the matings are sent to your handheld or the app, and just that's how it appears in the app if you are clicking on a cow on the app. So look, you can very quickly easily record the sire there.
Sorry, Dan, what app are you talking about there?
That's our own Her Plus app there, John. It appears on the app under, if a farmer clicks in the cow number and he clicks into bull use, it'll immediately appear that that's the best mating, bull sire choice 1, but it also makes the job of recording it much easier as well.
So you can find that app on the Google Play Store or on
Correct,
Apple iTunes. Okay,
and those matings as well transfer. Look, there's other apps on the market as well where that mating choice is beamed into as well. It's not just their own, John, just to be clear. So I think it's on Herdwatch and Aggregate and all those as well. So that's look, great. we're all synced up hopefully.
That's great. And before you go on, at what stage do you run the breeding charts, Dan? I know it's probably slightly different every year, but is there a rough date?
Yeah, so we're discussing that here. So look, we try and would encourage farmers to run Sire device between and I suppose maybe the end of the first week of April 7th, and that following week then we'll try and send out breeding charts. But John, look, we'll be sending out. So the key thing here, John, just for the viewers here, just we try and run the Sire device first and send it through, because we will send out a text message in to farmers to asking them, do they want a chart? A lot of farmers don't need a chart at all. So you can reply to the word chart and just speak here, because some farmers have reply to the word chart without running Sire advice. So don't put the cart before the horse here if you can. So just run the Sire advice first and then reply back to the word chart, and we'll pick you up. And look, John, we will be sending you out if farmers run Sire advice and look for a chart the 2nd and 3rd week of April. There's no problem. We'll deal with it, but we'll try and get the main bulk of them out on the 2nd week of April. It's a manual job. It's a slow job here on our side here, John. It's a manual job. There's no machine for that. That's a person in a room, a couple of team doing that. So it's a slow job. So that's the reason why we try and get them in good and early. So thanks for that. Get a bunch of them done there that 1st week of April.
Thanks, Dan.
So John, look, I'll just stop sharing there, and I'll just try and just finish up maybe the kind of demo I had started on Tuesday, if I can, with the new sex semen options, as I had alluded to. So bear with me there a second.
Yeah. As you're opening that, Dan, there's a question in: is it possible to have more than 3 bulls in the column on the mating results page, or does it get too complicated? Or
all the applications at the moment, the AI handheld is set up for just 3 choices, but I'll explain at the end of the demo why we flick it over to the beef, because it's just designed to have the 3 choices in the apps. So that's all our system linked up, and the chart can take the dairy and beef mating all right, but we're just not that built yet. And having 6 choices for one animal, it might be confusing there. It would confuse me anyway. So I'll answer like that as well.
Yeah, perfect.
So, John, I'm hoping this is on our test environment there. So, is that appearing on screen there, John?
It is, Dan. If you could, are you able to highlight your cursor in red by any chance?
Man, that good point, John. 1 second now.
If you can't, that's fine.
1 second. Close the PowerPoint here first.
So just as Dan is getting that up on his computer, one of the points that I would like to make is that there are advisors all around the country who are very, very happy to help out farmers to complete Sire advice if that you feel that you're not comfortable with the program, or if you want some more advice. There are plenty of farmers or advisors very willing to help you fill this out. So Dan,
John, is there? I seen different options here, and I'm more used to
it's
Teams,
okay.
John.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can tell it away.
1 second. I'll try and get it here if I can. Is it on captions?
So if you up the top, go to annotate.
Annotate, yeah. So on, John.
And
mouse, is it, or select?
Mouse, I would say.
Is that appearing?
No, try the other one. Apologies.
I'll select.
No, it's okay. Just keep going, Dan. We can live without it. Thanks.
No, is the cursor even appearing on screen there, John?
It is appearing. Yeah, it's appearing.
I'll try and do that there now, John. 1 second now. Let's try to refresh this. It's just after all, don't tell me it's going to freeze. I mean, oh,
could be Murphy's Law.
1 second. I'll stop sharing here a second, John. I'll just reshare again. 1 second now. And I'll get it going, hopefully. That's working there now, John, again.
That's working there, yeah. So just as you're getting going, people, the questions are coming in. So please use the Q&A box if you have a question on the for Dan or myself. Yeah, Dan, we can see that. Thank you.
So look, John, I just had categorized my cows there for 26 cows for beef, crossbreeding and select. I've done a bit of everything here just for the demo here. So the first thing here, the screen you'll rock into next is the selective mating. You can enter in 2 bulls. I just picked them here just to speed it up here before we started. And this just carries out a standard inbreeding check, and this won't go into the mating program as such, because you might be requested here by a company to put a specific bull and a specific female, and that's what happens here. So I'll just motor on to the next section. This is where we hope, or where we see the hopefully picking the bulls is much easier. I suppose I need to highlight here straight away. Look, this is all probably new there to everybody. So now, as I have cows listed for sex on the female selector step, and I need to pick bulls now for sex for those, and I have default dairy for both cow and heifer. I have obviously cows marked for crossbreeding as well. So this defaults the active bull list here, but all AI bulls will appear in the central option. Just to go through some of the filters here. So this figure here in the brackets, if anyone's wondering what it is, that's the average EBI of the herd. So obviously, I'm going to push this slider up to obviously above the average. So I'm going to put the minimum here. I think was at the board in Kildalton. I think it was 220. John was the figure, I think.
Yeah, so the minimum EBI of sires of next year's calf crop of any bull on the list should be 220 according to the advice. Yeah.
If I so the first thing I'll probably try and attack here, John, is just the sex. So I want to know which bulls are sex. So again, this filter is here. So just going to untick conventional there for a moment, and I'm just going to go through. Look, there's confirmation options there for if farmers want to select on that. Some farmers have pedigree, non-pedigree, or don't mind. So you can just select pedigree only here if you want. Look, I won't go through. I'll just go overview them here. So you can prove sources here as well. If you can untick and select as you want. Look, AI company. Some farmers deal with one technician A company. Some DIY can use them all. Look, here are unticked. I'll be the UN here today. I'll just keep everyone happy. And on the company front. And look, the calving records here and the gestation link. So if I don't want any bull, for example, that's positive, I just can just put that down to no more than 0 here. So again, I can just highlight that one there. Calf interval, and again, look, the milk production. So look, I don't want any bull here that's going to be underneath my averages here for my herd. So I'm going to try and put the slider up here to 30 close to 37, and I'm going to put the fat and pony. But if I was wanted to drive hard on a particular trait, I'm obviously going to put the slider up, harder on these traits. So all of a sudden here, I'm not after doing a whole lot so far, and I'm down to 50 bulls already. And again, if I really want to, again, my fat for my herd is 0.16. 30 bulls. I haven't done a whole lot yet, and my list of bulls is coming away down to be looking at. And again, if protein is something, might just push this up a little bit harder. And again, I'm down to about 20 bulls here. So look, and look, I want I can tick by breed here or whatever. So look, I'm just going to leave that as it is, John. And again, look, on the highlight this option as I look, just before I select any bull, I might like to compare them. So I just want to highlight this option. Maybe people might not be aware this option is there. So again, I can look at the bulls here, compare them to my herd averages. Look if there's anything I'm not particularly happy with here. I can remove it. And before I select any bull, so look, I can just view that option there before any bull is selected there.
So Dan, some comments that come back from farmers that I meet would be that I put all my selection criteria into Sire advice, into the new Sire advice, and it only came up with a list of whatever amount of bulls. But they might have been very, very, very selective on all the traits that you want in a bull, and maybe no bull is perfect. We probably know that at this stage. That's a new compare tool for comparing bulls for this year, is it?
No, that's been there all along, John. So okay. That's the reason I highlighted it. I think it's been missed.
Okay, well, yeah, well, I think it has been missed then. Yeah. So, what you could do is you could select your milkier bulls or your negative milk bulls or your very high protein or very high and click them onto compare is basically what you're saying.
Yeah. So, John, look, as we had discussed it here, John, look. These are just the sex bulls now, keep in mind. So look, I'm just going to pick maybe, I'm just going to pick, as we discussed it, look, the lower milk kilo bulls here. I'm going to pick maybe 2 here. And as we had discussed it, because I might want to address maybe some imbalances there on that. I might now want to select maybe some bulls now that are very good in fertility. So I want to range in my team. And then plus my 6 mating. So I'm going to pick 2 here as well that are very strong on fertility. And you can up. So if you put the sliders too tight, you'll minimize your range. So more important to get a range of bulls than just having a very tight criteria. And again, so I have three bulls picked there. So I'm just going to pick a bull here now that's look maybe on the mix-up index, and again I might pick maybe one of the higher ones. 193 might if I'm gonna go very strong, I might pick one very high milk bull, because I have picked some of the lower ones as well. So that's that there picked off, and I'm now going to, John, maybe now have just pick some bulls on the conventional side to select. And again, I'm just going to pick 2 bulls here. I'm conscious of time there now. I just want to delay everyone just in picking them. just want to demonstrate how it works, is what I really want to get across today.
And the new the sexed cow and sexed heifer, is that a new function for this year?
That's new, and that'll be probably going live probably on Monday there, John. That's the plan there. We're just doing final testing, ironing it out there at the moment there. Okay. So I know want to just maybe demonstrate just maybe picking the DBI bulls, John, on this. So John, another thing I want to highlight here that is the reliability here. So if I wasn't picking enough bulls in comparison to my herd size, or if I was picking bulls that were related to each other from one Sire family, I was struggling to get over 94% as well. That's another just a key tool to manage the inbreeding and risk, etc. as well, just to highlight that there. So John, look, as I had mentioned it, look, I can just pick, look, maybe just put the slider up here to the.
What sliders are there in terms of the dairy beef bulls there, Dan, very quickly?
Yeah, so look, obviously I got DBI. So look, if I want a positive figure at minimum, and look, I might want to range here. I mightn't put the beef up massively high because it might interfere with my risk. And again, I might just want to pull that down there, the direct, pull that down to 10. And again, I can select by company. And again, I probably don't want any bulls that are positive, so I want to pull that down to maybe 0, just on the negative gestation. You probably don't want to be carrying anything longer than that. And look, you've carcass weight. If you want to really focus on that there. So look, they're the main sliders there, and you can just select by breed there as well. Look, I won't tick any breed or untick a breed. I might maybe just for the demo, I might just Angus or heifer, probably the main ones. Look, but there's plenty of farmers using other breeds, Wagyu, sailors, there are for limousines, etc. Look, there's no limitations there on the selection. But look,
that's very useful, Dan, in terms of if you wanted to select within a breed and you wanted to find the shortest gestation limousine within a certain calving difficulty, you can order them there in a list. So that is very useful in terms of finding what you want.
So John, look, I'll just pick these two here, but if again the filters again, I can look at they're both good beef and some index. Look, happy enough reliability, negative gestation. So look, I've good band, but again, just to familiarize, look, you can see here there's a range here now in the beef subindex ranging from 50 up to 115. There's a range here in the calving subindex. And then on the gestation, look, there's a range here. Just I've done a very few simple things with the filters there, but again, there's a range here. So I might want to go more negative, maybe, or maybe I'm happy enough with maybe with the 0. But again, you can use this any way you want to drive it on the beef side just as well. But look, I'll motor on here, John, just to finish it out. I want to highlight this as well, John, that the companies have put bull teams available as well, and you can add in a bull team here. And it's probably no at this stage, at this point, John, that I would probably, if I was a participant in gene I'd add in my gene Ireland bulls now as part of my overall team. I might want to check now to see how am I looking at here on my averages of my team here by clicking on the view bull team option here. So again, 281. Again, if I was addressing in my imbalances, I wouldn't be happy enough. I think we might get closer to 300 if I had another 10 minutes. I start pulling in bulls and out bulls. As you can see here, I can add in bulls or take in bulls now if I want. For example, John, I might have a few fresh straws left over in a flask last year. Again, I might manually enter a few bulls here using this option here on the system here. I can manually enter a bull here, whatever the case may be is, and enter in my gene Ireland bulls. So I'm happy enough here just to finish it up now, hopefully. Let's refresh that there. Some gremlins out of this. This is my test environment now, folks, so don't be worried, this is not live.
Never work with technology. Animals are children, isn't that what they say?
This is our test environment, John, there. I'll just try and
just as it's coming up there, so when you get to the straw allocation page, you have to give your number of straws or your percentage usage.
What I might do there now, John, because that's just our test working environment there. I've gone through all the new options there. That was the key part of what I wanted to do this afternoon. I might just go back onto our live system now just to finish it out the rest and another herd here. 1 second there, John, and I just demoed how to use the new filters that farmers will hopefully see there on Monday. So just bear with me there a second, John.
As you're pulling that up, Dan, just maybe one question. If you take a cow for beef or for crossbreeding and you want to rerun a sire advice that you're not happy with your bull selections, will they come forward to your next sire advice if you had already clicked your cows for beef?
That's so one of the things, John, the female selections hold. So if I run it 20 times, the female selections currently hold. But one of the things we've put forward or put in the new options. So John, my bulls now will retain and save as of Monday next week. So I don't have to re-enter my bulls. That was kind of a bit of a bugbear. We'll have that hopefully nailed on the head as well on Monday, John. So that if I can pull a bull in and pull it out, much more easier to do multiple runs. And look, you're not bound to that sire advice run. So if you do run it next week or the following week, if you do have to make changes in the first week of May, for whatever reason, a bull might not be available, don't be afraid to rerun it. There's those selections again go after your technician's hand up in your app, so you're not bound to by no means. So don't be afraid to rerun it if there's obviously good reasons to rerun it there. So John, you'd mentioned there, this is probably another thing might be missed by farmers out there as well. Some farmers buy 20 of this or 10 of that. You can go straws or usage. So just make sure you have one straw per female. Just to highlight that there, John, as you had mentioned there, that's how that works. And again, straw usage again. I just want to finish it out here. It's just a very quick makeup now to finish it out here. So it's doing the algorithm now. So it's doing the inbreeding checker. It's matching the bull that's best in milk, the cow that's poorest in milk, the fertility balance, and hopefully they are minimizing the variation of milk kilos in the mating program here. So I just want to highlight here that this is the bull one choice here, and that's the predicted EBI of the calf being born. Next week, if there's the CVV of the beef calf is generated based on the beef bull being selected. And again, you'll see all this on the results page here, and you can download this to Excel as well if you want. Some farmers actually like this to download to Excel those particular results, which is fine, just to highlight those options here. And again, I can view PDF here. So you will see probably there'll be a sex semen flag for the bulls and cows in this report next week, and there'll also be a flag on the app and on the technician's app as well next week. And again, the predicted weighted averages, the calves come up here. The wool weighted averages. Look, I just picked this is an older team there just to finish it out here. My beef bulls come up here, and look, this is my bull wool mating here. So just to highlight, John, if only people learn one thing this afternoon, just to pick the bull. If I follow the bull one choice as close as I possibly can, that looks after the equal usage piece. That's okay. The 50. That is a key point. If you can follow that, no, that's easier. I might have to go to bull 2 and bull 3 might not be available on a day, whatever the case may be. But if a farm can really try and follow that bull one choice on the SAR advice report, that automatically looks after equal usage piece. That's a very simple and maybe key part of advice there. On that. So John, at this point now, if I'm happy, you can click the green button here, send to handheld, and that goes off. And just to explain the piece about at the moment, you have the choice here of alternating. So now I've the dairy matings going across to my handheld and my technician's handheld. So show dairy matings at the moment, and this is the one now. If I'm finished my dairy after 3 weeks, I have to switch it over to beef only, because I've generated both dairy and beef matings in the background. I can now go to beef only, and that's what gets transferred over onto your app or onto your technician's handheld. So it's a key part to remember there, maybe the middle of May or the end of May or the start of June, whenever farmers decide to finish their dairy breeding season, that this is the thing they should do next. Or a farmer might only pick dairy bulls now, John. And and they might come along there maybe after 2nd or 3rd week of May and pick beef bulls. That's fine as well, and run it through the Sire advice again. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way as well.
Okay, Dan. And if I sign out of my ICBF and I sign back in again, and I want to find the report that the Sire advice generated, where is the best place to find it?
Exactly.
Is there another place to find it apart from clicking under Sire advice?
It'll come up here, John, or if you go under, this is not exactly what the farmer sees, but it's under reports, and it's under fertility here, John, Sire advice.
Okay.
You'll see it here as well.
That's great.
It's up here as well. If I look back in the report, so look, this is my brother's here, so he's unfortunately gets tested to hell. So take no notice of that.
so Dan, maybe just to summarize the Sire advice piece there in terms of where it's come from over the last couple of years and what are the main jobs that it's doing, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, I suppose the main jobs, hopefully, John, it's doing those balanced matings. It's I'll repeat again. There's one, create any it takes care of the inbreeding. I know there's arguments about gene pools being narrowed, or etc., but this is the tool to take care of all this. It looks after that. It looks after the equal usage piece. The dairy beef, of course, is becoming important in terms of the calves being produced, and we have a tool that hopefully will avoid any difficult calving. That's what it's not trying to do. It's trying to create a live calf in the ground first. Don't know to be very strong in saying that. That's the first thing it tries to do. There's no profit from anything unless the calf is alive in the ground first. That's really the first thing it tries to do, and trying to generate, of course, a better quality animal maybe for the calf purchaser, maybe some bit of profit, and trying to that's one of our roles we have in ICBF, trying to integrate the dairy and the beef. It's not easy, but we're trying to do that. And of course, we integrate the integration piece with the handhelds and with apps. That's the part, and making the job of recording sires. And when we do send out the expected calving list and registering calves next year, that job is all integrated and makes it much more easier. So, John, that's what it's trying to do.
And I suppose one of the other benefits to it is that you can identify sires that otherwise you mightn't have by flicking through a catalogue. You might have skipped over it, so you can identify sires on using the beef or the dairy and the beef search.
I just think the sliders, farmers are familiar with cars on and Dundee. I'm sure they use sliders for picking lots of different things, and I just think the sliders are great. Instead of trying to spend an hour trying to go through a catalogue, I think you can do it, I think, in minutes, to be honest.
Yeah, that's great. Dan, thanks for that. So there are videos online that you have produced on little demos of how to do them. They're on YouTube.
Yeah, they're actually on the landing page there on Sire advice there, and we'll probably we'll be doing new upgraded versions with the sex semen there. They'll be put on the road there next week. But look, if anyone wants to tune back at this session, I'm sure they'll see a lot of it there to play back as well. That's
great. Thanks a million, Dan, for bringing us through that kind of practical session on how to run Sire advice. Tonight, just ladies and gentlemen, before you sign out, the main event of the Teagasc Breeding Week is a webinar tonight. And Donna Berry of Teagasc Moor Park, Margaret Kelleher, a geneticist with ICBF, and Philip Donoghue, a farmer experience, will be on tonight. I think it's at 7:30 tonight. So be sure to tune in.